God's sake, give more power to the people. There's some people up there holding everything, telling lies, giving alibis about the people's money and things.
The pledge to resist. We believe that as a people living in the United States, it is our responsibility to resist the injustices done by our government in our names. Not in our name will you wage endless war. There can be no more deaths, no more transfusions of blood for oil. Not in our name will you invade countries, bomb civilians, kill more children, letting history take its course over the graves of the nameless. Not in our names will you erode the very freedoms you have claimed to fight for. Not by our hands will we supply weapons and funding for the annihilation of families on foreign soil. Not by our mouths will we let fear silence us. Not by our hearts will we allow whole peoples or countries to be deemed evil. Not by our will and not in our name. We pledge resistance. We pledge alliance with those who have undergone attack for voicing opposition to the war or for their religion or ethnicity. We pledge to make common cause with the people of the world to bring about justice, freedom, and peace. Another world is possible, and we pledge to make it real.
And welcome to Heal DC. This is Joni, and of course those words ring particularly true for us today. This is our second Monday of the Summer Pledge Drive. We have a powerful show lined up with you for you today. Two powerful poets, and I'm excited to introduce them in a moment. But let me just say that now is not too early to make a pledge to this show. You can call 202-588-9739, 202-588-9739. Well, later on, we'll give you other ways you can make a pledge, but give us a boost as we start this show. As we know, we need WPFW now more than ever. I want to say before we begin with our poets, as we speak right now, there is a rally taking place at what used to be called Black Lives Matter Plaza, and that is the plaza in front of 815 16th Street Northwest. It's starting right now at 9 a.m., and that is to take a stand to make it clear that D.C. belongs to the people, the residents who live here, and not to Donald Trump. Many of you know that since Thursday night, federal law enforcers, agents have been out in the streets all hours of the day and night in D.C. communities. Trump plans to announce today more plans to take over the city. So we're standing up for D.C., and those of you who can make the rally, please do. With that said, I am very happy to introduce our two poets joining us today. We're going to be hearing from, of course, one at a time. And the first one is, I'm sorry, Carl. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm trying to think of too much at once. Carl Carter, and I'll introduce him in a minute. And we also have a Palestinian American poet who's living right now in New Orleans from my hometown in New York City, Queens. We're going to be hearing from Paul in a moment. But let me first introduce Carl Carter. He resides in Alexandria. He is an author of 2 books and many poems. The books are Southern Road and Other Selected Poems, Sojourner and Other Poems. He has been featured in many journals, including Journal of the Hip Hop, Understanding New Black Poetry, The Poet Upstairs, an anthology of Washington area poets, Freedom in My Heart, Voices from the National, well, Voices from the People, I'll just say, and Words of Protest, Words of Freedom, Poetry of the American Civil Rights Movement. And Both of the poets that we're going to hear today will be performing next Sunday at the American Poetry Museum at 3 p.m. We'll be giving out the address. And the Palestinian American poet will also be performing Saturday at Sankofa and Friday at the Palestinian Museum. We'll be hearing more about that as we move forward. So let me first welcome our first poet, Carl Carter. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you want to add anything to your introduction, but in a moment, we're going to start out with one poem that we're going to be focusing on with you today called Woke Ideology. But before we do that, anything else you would like to say to introduce yourself?
No.
Okay. And I must say that Carl apparently was a friend of my dear friend, Gaston Neal, and I can hear some of Gaston's spirit in Carl's poems. But let's go with this poem. Of course, Carl has written many poems because of our limitations today. And I want to thank also Brian Gilmore, poet activist in our community, who introduced me to both Carl and Paul, and is organizing the poetry event taking place on Sunday. So thank you, Brian Gilmore. We're going to start out with one poem which really speaks to today. So do you want to jump in, Carl, and read it, or anything you'd like to do if you want to say anything about it first? But it's a very powerful poem.
Brian, woke ideology came out of a conversation I had with Brian and a passing remark I made when he talked about the executive order, which to Brian was a seizure of the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And I replied to his comment about it. I said, well, what do they know about Emmett Till's coffin? And the more I began to think about it, this poem came together, Woke Ideology. Tell me, what do you know with your executive orders and proclamations of Emmett Till's coffin, his once shiny sarcophagus, now empty of life, his 14-year-old body beaten beyond a mother's recognition? What do you know with your proclamations and claims of truth and sanity? Tell me, what do you know? What do you know of the time when he lay in state and we all came with lines of people down the street and around the block to see him? Pictures in ebony and jet. And those of us who can remember can hear the voices of the people saying, this could be you. Now we bring our children to our museum, our Mecca, bearing the unvarnished truth to see his coffin and tell his story, a cautionary tale of Southern coffins, customs, and a fig leaf for American justice. What do you know about the truth of for whites only, of the separate lunch counters for colored only, of the recipients of justice, of the justice of separate but equal? What do you know of this song of a mother's love displayed to shame a nation's violence? Tell me, what do you know of the story of this country with your executive orders and proclamations and razor in hand to muddle the truths long standing, to remove the names of heroines and heroes, Colin Powell, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, claiming to right the boat with the salve of sanity and truth, your balm for Gilead, no more than a shredder for the cloth of DEI. That thread that binds us and holds us close, our story of hope with its promise of tomorrow. What do you know? What do you know with your executive orders and proclamations to take action, to reinstate the pre-existing monuments, memorials, and markers? A cry to save the lost cause, to rewrite the original sin of the nation, to airbrush over the serpent in the garden, and to smother the cries of a people. What do you know with your commission to make sure that the truth does not disparage America's past? What do you know?
And that is a powerful poem by Carl Carter. And I must say, if I was writing the poem with you, I might add, what do you know? What do you care? Seems like they don't care too much about the people, to say the least. But perhaps let's talk about this poem a little bit. When you read it to me the other day, I asked you about a cry to save, the words in your poem, a cry to save the lost cause. And you told me what that meant. Can you explain to the listeners the meaning of that phrase?
Well, the lost cause is the rewriting of history by the Southerners after the Civil War. And this was an attempt to paper over the defeat of the South. The North won the war, but lost the propaganda afterwards, the peace. And so you had this story of the good slave master. You had this, but you also had the how do I put it? They rewrote the story of Reconstruction, claiming that it was not it didn't occur that way. So, they tried to cast Reconstruction as something that was not really good.
And it also, I think, has a reference to the Ku Klux Klan. And perhaps you could share that, what you shared with me about the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, Trump is supposed to be refurbishing through the National Park Service the statue of Albert Pike, who was the one of the founders of the Klan. And that statue used to stand in between the DC police station, main headquarters, and the Department of Labor. And it had been torn down and disfigured about a year or 2 years ago. And so Trump is expending tax dollar money to refurbish it and put it back up. That is pretty much what he said he would do in his executive order when he said to take action.
And where is that Ku Klux Klan statue that he wants to bring back? Where is it located?
It's a part of the Park Service. In the article I read about it didn't say where the statue was.
Okay. Knowing him, he may want to put it right in the middle of Washington, D.C.
Well,
So
you couldn't get any further closer to that than between what was D.C., not the old city hall, but the new one on, I think it's 5th Street.
Okay. And so Carl, tell us, because we have a short amount of time with you, but we're going to bring you back in the future, hopefully in August, to spend the hour with us, perhaps with our friend James Early, so we can go more deeply into your poetry. But tell our listeners where they can come and hear you on Sunday.
Well, it's at the American Poetry Museum. It's located in the Brooklyn Arts Walk at 716 Monroe Street Northeast. There'll be a jazz trio there, and it starts at 3 p.m.
Okay, and that's again this Sunday at 3 p.m. I happen to know that it's near the Brooklyn Metro. For those of you who take the Metro, it's very easy to get to that way. And we look forward to seeing you, Carl, and having you on with us again in the future. And in a moment, we're going to go to Katia. But before we do that, I just wanted to have Paul spend a moment introducing himself. And then when we come back from our pitch break, we're going to hear from the Palestinian American poet, Paul. Paul, you want to introduce yourself a little bit? He may have to unmute himself. Let's see. Okay. I'm just meeting everybody, and this is, again, these are poets that are close to Brian Gilmore. I'll introduce Paul is a Palestinian Lebanese writer and cultural organizer, born and raised in New York City in Queens. And actually, Paul and I grew up in the same neighborhood. A long-time spoken word poet who regularly performed at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. He is the author of 3 books, Poems of the Palestinian Diaspora, Un Poema es un Cuchillo, and the Palestinian Freedom Now Suite. And some of you will know where those words came from, the Palestinian Freedom Now Suite. His poetry has been published in many journals. He's participated in poetry festivals, including the International Poetry Festival of Puerto Rico. And in early November, he will be representing Palestine and Lebanon at the International Poetry Festival in El Salvador. He lives in New Orleans now, where he's performed poetry with jazz musicians and produced documentaries about the city's elder musicians. And with that said, we will hear from Paul in a few moments. But first, I'm going to ask Katia to jump on here with me.
Good morning, Joni.
Good morning, Katia.
We are here, as Sharif Simmons says in a poem. We are here, and we want to invite you to pledge your support for To Heal DC this morning. Joni always features such critical voices at exactly the time that we need them. And today is no exception. These 2 poets, it is really the balm in Gilead that we need today. And so we ask you to pledge your support for a wonderful producer and host, and Joni Eisenberg, and of course Chuck Hicks, often working with her, and for To Heal DC. But we also ask you to be in solidarity today. I think really all day. We have to be in solidarity with those 6 journalists who were murdered yesterday. And if you understand the critical nature and the connection between what these poets are saying, what's happening in DC right now, today, even as we speak, with the calling out of the National Guard, what's happening in the Congo, and of course in Palestine, if you understand that as one, and the fact that To Heal DC has brought you voices from all of those struggles or all of that resistance, we should say it that way, then we ask you to be in solidarity with To Heal DC this morning. $650 to go. The number to call is 800-222-9739, or you can go online to WPFWFM.org to pledge your support. You can also text WPFW-FM to 801-801. Again, 800-222-9739 or WPFWFM.org. Won't you be the one to get it started today to heal DC? $650 to go. Joni?
Yes, thank you, Katia. And of course, last week we featured the return of Chris Smalls when he was not only beaten but kept in prison by the Israeli forces for 5 days. We got a lot of support for that show throughout the week. So I want to thank everybody who continued to pledge after the 10 o'clock hour. And we exceeded our goal for sure last week. But we need to do that again this week to keep this station strong. And Katia, if you could spend a moment, of course, those who've been listening know that we have a very special package this pledge drive, Black August thank you gift that features a whole amazing mix of poets, writers, and Katia, maybe you can help me with some of the people that are on there, but that can be a pledge for yours for $150. Mm-hmm. And I must say, I'm going to have to go back and really make sure I get a copy of that. It is so inspiring, the mix of people. So could you just share with us, Katia, some of the people featured in that package?
Absolutely. And Joni is speaking of our Black August Black Liberation Digipack, and it contains over 50 hours of content. And not only do we have the voices, of course, that come to us during Black August, or are the reason for Black August, like George Jackson and the Soledad Brothers and A-Trap Brown and others. We also have the voices of Mumia Abu-Jamal, June Jordan, Odetta, Sun Ra, Audre Lorde, Amiri Baraka, John Coltrane, James Baldwin, Gwendolyn Brooks, and many, many more. And this is WPFW curated from the Pacifica Radio Archives. They have many things in the archives, and we chose this content because we thought that for Black August and certainly what's happening around Black liberation around throughout the diaspora, that this was fitting for this moment. So it is yours for a pledge of $150, folks. And we ask you again to be in solidarity with us. Freedom is not free. It is costly. But we need a free press. We need programs like To Heal DC to help us calibrate and move in the world. 800-222-9739. We ask you to get us started. Perhaps pick up that Black August Black Liberation Digipack, yours for a pledge of $150. If we have, I believe, 5 of those, Joni, we will be golden. So consider it. 800-222-9739 or WPFWFM.org.
And of course, you can make that pledge. If you can't afford the whole 150, you can make them in installments and still be able to access that package. And what Katia mentioned is only a few of the people. I know Angela Davis is on there. And when I think of Black August, I think of Angela Davis, very much so.
Absolutely. Elaine Brown. I mean, if you're going to talk about the women of Black August, Elaine Brown is there. Kathleen Cleaver is there. So you're right. I did not mention all the names. There are so many names that are not mentioned in the description, but that are there. And, you know, Joni, it's imperative, right, in these times to educate ourselves, to help to educate others so that we can really organize and resist. I mean, this is how we get to it, through education. And WPFW, and certainly To Heal DC, is part of that emancipatory education that you get here at WPFW. So please make that call that makes the difference, 800-222-9739, or you can go online to WPFWFM.org.
Absolutely. And really, I've been hearing some of them. I think Kim Bay played Langston Hughes' a piece on Saturday. So much is featured in that package. It's really a must-have. I'm sure Sonia Sanchez is in there and many, many more. So give yourself a treat, and give a treat to some young people you know, or, you know, a school that you know, or a church, and even some older people would love to have this package. So now we're going to move into our second poet, and to bring him on, we're going to hear a little music that he selected. Hopefully, Mikey can get it.
وضعوا على فمه السلاسل ربطوا يديه بصخرة الموتى وقالوا أنت قاتل أخذوا طعامه والملابس والبيارق ورموه في زنزانة الموتى وقالوا أنت سار طردوه من كل المرافق أخذوا حبيبته الصغيرة وقالوا أنت لا
Okay, you could heard a little snippet of that powerful song selected by my new friend, the poet Paul. Paul, welcome.
Yeah, hi, Joni. How are you?
Good. Will you introduce yourself a little better and first tell us what that song was that you selected?
So the song, it's the singer is a musician, oud player, and singer from Palestine. Her name is Camelia Gibran, and the song is called "About a Human," and it's a song adapted from a poem by sort of the national poet of Palestine, Mahmoud Darwish, and it's about it's one of those Palestinian things where it starts very dark. It's about a man, a political prisoner who's tortured, and sort of at the end, towards the end, he dies, but then, and the metaphor of the wheat being all dried up in the land, but then suddenly the wheat reappears. That even like I was thinking about yesterday, the 5 journalists from Al Jazeera who were assassinated, purposefully assassinated by the U.S. backed Israel, and and this is not to minimize their losses, but someone will rise up again and monitor what's going on, because it's just the nature of our character. And we don't like the word resilient, but there's a word in Arabic, samud, which translates most closely. It's several qualities, but most closely is steadfastness, and it's an idea that no matter what happens, you keep on going.
Absolutely. And Paul, say your name better than I did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, my joke is that our name was Smith, but we like to make things complicated, so we changed it. It's Catafago. Paul
Catafago, yes. And again,
Catafago.
yes, and I'm excited to have Paul share some of his poetry. We're going to hopefully hear from him again soon, but let's jump right in, Paul, to your first poem that you selected, Remember Us.
Sure. So this is a poem that's in a book that's just been released, that we're going to talk about the readings, I guess, at the end. I'm coming to Washington, D.C. on Friday, and Friday evening we're doing the first reading at the book event at the Museum for the Palestinian People on 18th Street in DuPont Circle. And so Remember Us, I wrote November 2023, so about a month after the genocide started. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting story about how it came to be, but it's kind of a long story. So you're gonna have to, if people want to hear that story, they're gonna have to come. So we're both from Queens,
Yes.
Joni. So we're gonna give like the Queen deal. I'm not gonna tell that story now, but we guarantee that when you come, we're gonna tell that story. So
Yes.
it's called Remember Us. Please remember us. Remember. You get to a point. You need glasses.
Remember, we were known for our generosity.
Yeah, remember us. Please remember us. Remember, we were known for our generosity and our creativity. Remember, we valued song and poetry. Remember that our culture esteemed writers, teachers, and farmers. Remember, we did not idolize material or money. Remember that we were a people who worshiped the Creator in different ways and believed in different theologies. We practiced tolerance and acceptance of the other. Remember, we were a people who valued friendship and family. And if you are a friend, you became a member of our family. Remember that in our houses, there were 4 generations who lived. Remember, we were a people who honored both our elders and our children. Remember, when you entered our houses, we asked you if you were hungry. Remember the food we made for you, that you had never seen so much food, that it was all so delicious. Remember that before we ate, regardless of our religion, we thanked our Creator. And we did the same after we finished eating. Remember our land, how we cherished it and tended to it, understanding it as a gift of the Creator. Remember the orange groves and the pomegranate trees. Remember you helped harvest our olive trees in the fall. Remember our joy, our embroidery, our culture of poetry. Remember how much we loved life, how we regarded every day a blessing. Remember, they will tell you lies about us now. They will have you judge us by the actions of a few. They will not tell you why some of us were rendered mad when our lands were stolen. They will say we are evil. They will say we are terrorists. Some will say we are not even human, not worthy of basic rights. They will kill our children and justify the killings. They will do horrific things to us and never be held accountable. And you will become weary. But remember who we are and where we come from. Remember our light, our generosity, our love. Remember our dignity. So in these difficult times, as we are in deep grief, mourning the deaths of thousands of our people, including so many of our children, in the genocide, stand with us, grieve with us, then struggle for justice with us. Read our poems, eat our foods, wear clothes with our embroidery. Bear witness to who you know us to be. Remember how when you came and stayed with us, we laughed so much. Remember how alive you felt when you spent time with us. So remember all of that and do not pity us now. Just stand with us and remember who we were and who we will always be. Remember our strength and our resolve. Remember we taught you a word in Arabic that is particular to our people, sumud, which means steadfastness. Remember our sumud, how steadfast we are. Remember when you left us, when we told you to come back, to return. Remember we too shall return. Remember we shall return.
And that is Remember Us. And Paul, you shared with me, maybe you could share a little bit with the listeners. Of course, obviously you are not living in Gaza right now. You're not living right now in Palestine, but that's where your roots are.
No. Our roots are in Palestine from my dad's side.
Okay.
But my dad was born in Jaffa, which is sort of a mythic place. It's 40 minutes north of Gaza, but it's also on the coast. And it's sort of the same area as Gaza, but 40 miles north of Gaza. But our roots are about a little bit over an hour, a little less than an hour from right there in Akka. And Akka is, I know you had Katia you were talking to her, and I know she's a fan of the great Palestinian writer Hassan Kanafani. And our roots, actually, my grandfather's roots, are from the same place, from Akka. which was named after Saint Joan of Arc, who I guess she settled in it's right near the famous city of Haifa on the coast of Palestine.
Okay.
I have a dear friend, his Hani Al Madoun, who's the philanthropy director of UNRWA USA, and like much of his family is in Gaza, and he's lost so much family. And they're the family that started the Gaza Soup Kitchen. So, but we don't have any family, and we do have, from my dad's side, we have Palestinian roots, but not in Gaza.
Yes. But I wanted you to share a little bit what you've been sharing with me. What is it like? You shared with me that you have trouble sleeping. Just tell the listeners. I mean, we're hearing you as a poet, but give us just unfortunately a minute or two, just what it's like for you as a human being living through this genocide.
I don't know if people have noticed who follow what's been happening in Palestine, or who love, because I know that we're not the only people that love Palestine. There are people that aren't Palestinian that love Palestine. But if you've noticed, we're people that, there are a lot of Palestinian poets, right? and it's one of the things. It's our culture, and it's not just Palestine. Like Levantine culture, there's always like a storyteller in the family, and the word in Arabic for it's a little different than in America, where if you have a compunction for poetry when you're in high school, they sort of direct you to get a Master's of Fine Arts and you go into academia. For us, the word in Arabic for poet is sha'ar, which translates to empathetic feeling. So the poet is seen as the empath, the one who feels, right? So, and I'm not saying I'm more feeling than other people, but we're also very if at Levantine Arab culture, we're very emotional people. So you answer, I'm going around. This is a roundabout way to say what I've been feeling. It's the Palestinians in the diaspora are physically, obviously not in Gaza, and we're not, and also what's been happening in the West Bank in the pogroms with illegal settlers, or just who are just allowed to raid Palestinian homes and set things on fire and such. So we don't experience that terror. Sometimes, I mean, I've lived in New Orleans 11 years, and I've had the Confederate flag thrown in my face and yelled by people, "Go home, you dirty Arab." It's not the same though. But I will say, I have not slept well, probably more than 4 hours a night since October 2023, because it's like, I tell people, if you're Irish American, for example, and daily there's an obvious genocide of your people in Ireland happening, and so you feel, and they say grief. So it to answer your question, it's constant grief every day, and then there are particulars like now, they're thinking about the 5 journalists who were assassinated, and they say grief is, and I feel this very, very, very clearly, that it's sort of part unspeakable sadness and rage, right? So what I've done particularly, instead of being distraught and all of that, I try to manifest it in the poetry. So I tell people the poetry is cheaper than therapy and less bloody than murder. and so many of the poems that are in the book, the Palestinian Freedom Now Suite, were written after, or like the poem I just read, Remember Us, was written a month after the genocide started, written in November 2023. So you try to, and it's also something sort of cultural to us that you try to make. I was thinking about the journalists that were assassinated, and then my brain then went to my friend's family that started the Gaza Soup Kitchen in Gaza. They've in North Gaza, but they have several outposts now. And the Saturday after Thanksgiving, the head chef, Chef Mahmoud, was assassinated by Israel. And so they, obviously you mourn, and my friend's parents are still there, elderly, and their health is not great, and they're in Gaza, and this deep, deep grief. It was like worldwide grief, right? And
That's right.
and they continued cooking.
They continued cooking.
They continued cooking.
Yeah, and we have to continue pledging. I'm sorry. Paul knows I start to cry. So Katia, come and help us out here.
Well, I'm trying. And Paul, good morning. It's such a delight to meet you here. And yes, that Ghassan Kanafani, the conversation between the sword and the neck. Yes, I love it.
Well,
wait, Paul, I'm sorry. I should have started there, but I was trying to calm myself down as well. It's an emotional morning, you all, for many of us.
I think they want you to unmute, Paul.
Unmute. It's an emotional morning for many of us here at WPFW because we take press freedom seriously. We take standing in solidarity with our comrades. And just to be clear, there were 5 Al Jazeera comrades who were murdered, but there was also one other freelance journalist that was also murdered. So there were 6 total murdered yesterday. And we take that very serious. To Heal DC brings you these voices. We want to thank some folks. That's the good news. So thank you, because Joni and I, neither of us have our voices together so we can pitch for a long time.
Yes.
But we are so very grateful to Anonymous out of Baltimore. Thank you, Brian. Our Brian out of Mount Rainier says, keep up the great work, Joni. Michelle Tingling Clemens, board member, doing what she needs to do, stepping up as she always did. Did even before being a board member. She says she would like to encourage others to sign up for sustainers. That's a great idea, Michelle. Thank you.
And happy birthday, Michelle.
Oh, happy birthday, Michelle. Happy birthday to you. She knows this is hard times, but it is so important. Absolutely. Our dear poetess, Silvana Straw, in solidarity, sending strong prayers for our collective liberation and love to my poetry family and all. Silvana Straw. She is a powerful poet in her own right. Thank you, Silvana. And Anonymous out of Marina Del Rey, California, a beautiful place. Thank you so much for joining us. We have only $70 to go, folks, $70 to go. And we have 17 minutes to do it. The number 7, we can get there together. 800-222-9739, WPFWFM.org. Paul's poem was so riveting and so moving, and his just talking about what it's like for you. And you know, the beautiful thing about the WPFW family, I think all of us, Palestinian or not, Congolese or not, Sudanese or not, me and Maurice or not, I'm probably not saying that correctly, wherever we are, we're DCers or not, wherever we are, wherever there's oppression, wherever there's abject poverty, wherever there is horrid violence and subjugation, WPFW is there. To Heal DC is there. We try to be that balm in Gilead, and we ask you to join with us, to be in solidarity with us, to help us keep resisting as a network, as a station, as a program. That is what Joni embodies, resistance and hope. So the number to call, 800-222-9739, only $70 to go. 800-222-9739, or you can go online to WPFWFM.org. I'm hoping I get more opportunity to hear Paul's poetry this morning.
Yes, and Katia, I want you to hear.
Wait a minute, though. I got to just say, someone came. See, when people understand the mission, I just fall in love with them. Thank you, Anonymous out of D.C., who says to Joni, continue doing an awesome job. Thank you so much. We still need you. Keep the calls coming. 800-222-9739 or WPFWFM.org. Sorry, Joni.
And Katia, if somebody out there remembers and knows Gaston Neal,
absolutely,
our poet Gaston Neal, who's the reason I'm on the radio, make a pledge in honor of Gaston Neal.
And you know, Gaston would be resisting. He'd be trying to come on PFW every day, giving the call to action every day.
Yeah.
So,
and I can remember Gaston in the 80s. He was wearing his keffiyeh and doing poetry about Palestine.
He was the first person I saw in a keffiyeh.
Yes, absolutely. So people know Gaston Neal, and I'm going to say, Katia, keep your ears open, because I'm now going to ask Paul about the name of his new book, Palestinian Freedom Now Suite.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask him to talk about his jazz connections with the jazz, with our jazz people. So Paul, hop right in, and remember, we only have 5 minutes left.
Okay.
So, so tell us about the Palestinian Freedom Now Suite, and tell us about some of your jazz heroes, such as Mingus, such as etc. So jump right in.
Yeah, thank you. So growing up in Queens, New York City, my dad, who was born in Palestine but grew up in Egypt, was a great fan of opera. And I love my dad, who died in 1998, but I love him dearly. But like sometimes I'm the youngest of three sons, and you want to sort of veer off and do your own thing. So a friend in college in Brooklyn introduced me to jazz. And the first concert we went to was Ahmad Jamal. And I still remember the song Poinciana. And it sort of lit this fire. And then around the same time, about a year later, I started doing spoken word poetry at a place called the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. And sort of quickly, I became friends with a fellow, Steve Cannon, who was born and raised in New Orleans, but had gone to New York many years before, got a doctorate, and was a professor of English at Medgar Evers for a long time, where his boss, the provost, was Betty Shabbat, Malcolm X's widow. And Steve was part of the Black Arts movement, but also in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, was part of the founders of the Umbra Poets with Ishmael Reed and Sonia Sanchez. But they also incorporated Amiri Baraka. And they, who was it, Archie Shepp and many other poets, many other musicians.
Coltrane, John and Alice Coltrane.
So every year, Steve, with his nonprofit gathering of the tribes, would organize the Charlie Parker Festival. Sort of then, so I always joke, because I'm the first person in my family ever born in the U.S., that the only American thing that ever made sense to me was jazz. And so in 2014, a couple of years after my mom died, I decided to just pack up everything, sell the house in Queens, and move down to New Orleans. So I've been here 11 years now. And, we have, we did a project of producing documentaries of half-an-hour documentaries of elder musicians of New Orleans. So the last section of the book, of this book, is called Jazz Poems and a Poem for Fayrouz. And Fayrouz was a great singer of Lebanon. She's 90 years old now. And so the name of the book, The Palestinian Freedom Now Suite, is a riff off Max Roach's album, The Freedom Now Suite, in 1960. And so this, the idea of WPFW and jazz and justice, right? Those we also come from a family, from my mom's side, we're Lebanese Syrian. And my grandfather in Lebanon, my maternal grandfather, was a prosecutor and a judge.
Okay, we only have about a minute left, minute or two left.
Sure. So someone asked me, well, you read like Palestinian political poetry and spoken word poetry. What does that have to do with jazz? But jazz is an art form of reclamation and revolution and freedom, right? So I'm trying to look for a short poem that we can. Okay. So it was just the anniversary of the bombing in Nagasaki. And there's a poem here called Coltrane Prays in Nagasaki. Coltrane bends his beautiful wounded body. In Nagasaki, Coltrane prays. He prays for the victims of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. He prays for all the dead. He prays for all the victims everywhere. Coltrane begins to cry. With his blessed saxophone, John Coltrane cries. So, yeah. Hello?
Yeah. Yes. So, listeners, what better of a treat could we have today than a Palestinian poet that is committed to jazz and justice. He is well, Paul, you're our new member of the PFW family, right? Right, Katia? We're making you an official member of the PFW family.
Absolutely. Yes. What do they?
Oh, and continue, like, if we ever, inshallah, we can meet, you know,
We
everyone.
will. Yes.
I was such a big fan of your dad.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we mention the 3 readings, Johnny?
Yes. We have time to mention the 3 readings taking place Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So let's start with Friday.
August 15th, 7 p.m., the Museum of the Palestinian People, 1900 18th Street, Northwest. Saturday, August 16th.
And you can you can repeat that. Repeat each one twice. Yeah.
So Friday, August 15th, 7 p.m., Museum of the Palestinian People, 1900 18th Street, I believe, in Northwest. I believe that's DuPont Circle. Saturday, August 16th, 3 to 5 p.m., Sankofa Video Books and Cafe. It's a reading and discussion moderated by Brian Gilmore, 2714 Georgia Avenue, Northwest.
And that's Sankofa. It would be great to have Paul get a big greeting from our Sankofa family on Saturday.
So again, I think many of the listeners know Sankofa. So that's 3 to 5 on August 16th on Saturday. And so the last reading is kind of emotional to me because even though I never met him, but he was sort of a hero to me, and we would chat. We chatted a few times. The reading that I'm taking part of with also the great poet that you interviewed earlier,
Carl Carter.
Yeah, Carl Carter Jr. So the reading is called let's see.
Well, it's a reading. We're just about out of time.
So at the American History, the American Poetry Museum, and it's 718 Monroe Street, number 25, Northeast Washington. The
And
American
again, that's
Poetry Museum, 718 Monroe Street, number 25. The Reuben Carter reading at with a live jazz band.
yes.
From 3 to 5 p.m. on Sunday, August 17th.
Absolutely. And again, that's near the Brookland Metro. And you can hear Kevin Carter and Paul Catafago. And you can meet wonderful people like Kenny Carroll, my buddy Kenny Carroll, who's also a poet. And of course, thanks again to Brian Gilmore for helping to set up this show today. We can come in with Katia maybe for our last pitch. But I just want to thank Magic Mike, as always, for the wonderful job that he does. And I want to thank everybody who's been pledging. And we know now more than ever, we really need this station to be strong. If you stay tuned to PFW, you can hear me a little later with Dr. Watkins and at 2 p.m. And at 5 p.m., I'm going to be helping our dear friend Ambrose Eileen Jr. make his goal. But Katia, how much?
Well, you know, Joni, we have exceeded the goal, and many have helped us. The latest pledge, we want to thank Kiki. I hope I'm saying that right. Kiki or KK out of Glen Elg, Maryland. Thank you so much for your pledge of support. And thanks to everyone who pledged this morning to help Joni exceed this goal. It was a worthy endeavor, and it was the perfect program for this morning. Thanks to both of your poets, and I look forward to hearing them. And thank you, Joni, for always doing good work.
And I want to thank the ancestors who did help us with this show as well, including, as always, not only my parents, but I want to thank Gaston Neal because he helped. I know he helped to make this happen. So keep on pledging for your radio station, Jazz and Justice. And thank you very much, Paul and Carl. And let's see, should we go out with the... Okay, we don't have time. Okay, whatever we have, let's hear it.